Welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Tuesday, June the 22nd, 2021. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you into queue. And we'd love to hear your comments and your questions because that makes this your show. While we're waiting on Michael to get dialed in, I'll just share with you that I actually did a worksheet this morning on being thrilled that the Android app is online. So people say, you do it on something good? Yeah. If you run out of things that are fear, guilt, pain, shame, whatever, you can do worksheets on saying that something makes you happy or something or someone, makes your life grand or whatever.
Permissions. I mean, if we could do an app without any permissions, it would be great. We do need to have the permission, of course, to use the internet and then, of course, to save if you're going to print it. But otherwise, people put sensitive information into this app. And we don't want anybody, including us, to have access to that information. So we don't ask for anything. If you do download the app, you can put in your address and phone number and ask to be put on our mailing list. But we don't even collect that information unless you check a box and say, please put me on your mailing list. So, and there are lots of benefits to being on our mailing list. If you haven't looked at it yet, if you were on the show yesterday, we talked about the Father's Day service that we did. That's a 30-minute listen, and it's got some pretty, when you go back to the Aramaic, the brilliance, the genius, and that particular passage we talked about was what they call a commandment of honor thy father and thy mother, as though it's something that's the Creator wants you to do. But when you get down to the root of it, what you find is it's about physiology. And if you don't know what that means, then, you're killing yourself, literally. Notice if you're not able to be the presence of love and function of love in front of your parents, notice how much hostility and fear there is in your life. That's the root of most of the hostility and fear in the world. Unless people work those issues through, they're plagued by them forever. The diseases that happen literally in their bodies, as a result of the disintegrative energy that's in the tissue structure, it's just, if you don't understand, it can sound like a bunch of hogwash. You take the word sin in Aramaic, and it simply means off the mark. It's an archery term. If you miss the target, you got a problem. And when they said the wages of sin is death, this is about physiology, nothing to do with theology, nothing to do with God's going to get you. It's really simple. If you put enough disintegrative energy into a particular cell, that cell's going to start to die. Understood what's there. It's so phenomenal. And sadly, it's, you look at 32 different sects of so-called Christianity, and very few of them have anything to do with Christianity. Most of them are from the perceptual constructs of one person's mind, and I believe this, and I believe that, and I believe this, and I believe that, and if you don't believe it, you're going to hell. Well, if anybody tells you you're going to hell in the name of a Creator called love, tell them to go study the Aramaic scriptures, because there's no such thing happening, although I know that so many people have been terrified and beat down with that one. I remember sitting in a church one day watching, a couple of rows in front of us, there was a little kid about 13, and the preacher's up there doing hellfire and brimstone, and I just watched this little kid, and I could see his power person dynamic. I could see. I bet I could have gone over and told the kid exactly what his life has been with probably his father. Maybe not, but probably. Might have been mom, or maybe a big brother or sister. But you could just watch him shrinking as this preacher did more fear and more intimidation and more rage. You could tell what the preacher hadn't worked out yet. None of that's got anything to do with the Creator. And, it's just time for us to clean that up and to get to the point where we can truly live as human beings, that we can truly take on the mantle of the truth of who we are. And if you hold a newborn child, you know exactly who we are. You know exactly what you are. Just tap into that essence of the newborn, and what you find there is love. And when you recognize that, then you realize that your task is to remove from your carbon-based memory system, from your physiology, what does not belong in physiology. And as you do that, you get free. And that's the way it works. So we're into chapter, what chapter is it? 16, I think. Page 81, Choosing Teachers. No, it's chapter 14, pardon me. And we've been talking to Richard about his past history with being in church and watching the hypocrites play, watching his parents be hypocritical. And now he's starting to realize that maybe his hostility toward religion, toward his parents, isn't about them or religion. Maybe it's about me. And so he's starting to wake up to that fact and to build the brain cells for a different way of looking at it. It's interesting that when words are spoken, people think they hear the words that are spoken. But what in fact constitutes our listening is what our brain does with the words that it hears or seems to hear. Because words are simply frequencies that cause brain cells to fire. If you've got brain cells for the old, hellfire and brimstone, sin, you hear the word, you might cringe. You might actually physically cringe because of the disintegrative energy, literally because of the sin, the off-the-mark energy that's held in your tissue structure. And when it's resonating, your tissue structure goes, oh, God, this is horrible. I don't like this. Now you got new brain cells. We talk about sin. Oh, it's off the mark. Oh, you mean for me to do rage? When I did rage yesterday, I was off the mark? Oh, okay. Now, well, gee, that's really practical. Yeah. Folks, the whole teaching from one end to the other is just plain, here's how your human energy system works, how your mind interacts with your physiology, how your physiology interacts with the world, how your mind interacts with the world, and others' minds interact with yours. It's all about how it works. And so we're looking to restore. We've actually got a video up there in our YouTube, or pardon me, on our catalog. If you go to whyagain.org, in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a link that says Order Products. And if you click on that, you'll see, it says MP4s. And we've got all of our videos now on streaming service, so you can go in, and there's one called Aramaicisms, and it's a 4-hour video where Aramaic scholar Dale Allen Hoffman and myself spent 4 hours discussing the original meanings of the original words in Aramaic. And Aramaicisms is a term that I coined to represent our effort to restore the original meanings. Because if you don't have the original meanings of man's words, you don't have relationship or knowledge of the man. It's silly to think you can work with words whose meanings have been shifted way over here to the right or the left and think you have any knowledge about what the man said, or anybody said, for that matter. Have you ever been misunderstood? Yeah. Notice the state that the person who misunderstood you was in. Oh. Was there hostility or fear? Notice that they didn't make it about themselves. They made it about you. And when you realize that if there's hostility or fear moving in you, your mind is lying to you, then you get a chance to start to clean your mind up. And that's what this work is all about, is cleaning out the store. There's an interesting passage, if I remember correctly, it was in the book of Thomas, where the Pharisees are all over Yeshua. And the disciples are, they're kind of in their stuff. And they turn to Yeshua and kind of say, basically, why don't you sock it to them? Why don't you give them back some of their own medicine? He says, I have none of that in my store. I don't have any of that in my mind, so there's none of that in me to give back to them. And why would I do that? Because if I gave to them what they're giving to me, I'd be putting that. I get the original. That would go into my tissue structure, and my physiology would be in trouble. You see, you may have people, people do some crazy things. And you may have people that you say, this person deserves my rage. And, I watched them and what they did was terrible. And I agree they absolutely deserve your rage. But the question is, because you get the original, not do they deserve your rage, but rather, do you deserve your rage? And if you don't, you better clean it out of your structure. If you've got that in your store, your physiology is suffering. And so we want to get that understanding across and then recognize that as opposed to bringing dogma. What Yeshua brought was a whole set of tools for how to live as a human being, how to truly live as the active presence of love. So that's where we want to go with this. So I'm talking to Richard here now, and we're on the bottom of page 81 if you're following along with us in the book. And if you don't have a book, it's out of print, but you can order it from Amazon. They usually have lots of used copies, as does eBay. And or you can go to our website and download it free. Go to whyagain.org, and you'll see a picture of the cover of the book, and you'll be able to download it. So Richard is moving into the arena of looking at spiritual tools, and he offers a thought. Seems like seeking out tools is the sensible thing to do. Spirituality has always been a place where healing tools are found. Religious movements based on spiritual experiences sometimes carry sometimes carry through with that purpose, and sometimes go in the opposite direction and attempt to control people by inflicting pain rather than healing it. So you look at the raging preacher that says, all the hellfire and brimstone stuff, and you've got someone who's unresolved in his own or her own head about their fear-based teachings on this idea of simply that there are energies that are off the mark, and you watch them pound on somebody else, and when they could be creating a space of safety, if you've got somebody who's in a space of pain before you, and you create a space of safety for them to start to drill down into deeper parts of their own minds, then healing happens. And, that's what we're here to do, is to support the healing process. So then the next thought that comes is where you go for spiritual advice is important. It's interesting to note that people who take the advice of only the best lawyers, who travel the world in search of the top physician, who want only the soundest of financial advisors, will accept the opinion of those with little or no experience when it comes to spiritual matters. Does that make sense? Of making a decision that could have such long-term consequences? Richard agreed that confusion was rampant in spiritual circles. Where can I go to learn how to make such decisions, Michael? Well, it helps to build some brain cells about the ways spiritual teachings are used in our culture. I think you'll find that will clarify the process of choosing. And the next series of thoughts we're going to go into, and we'll do that tomorrow, assuming that we don't have a big Russian conversation to begin with, and we'll start to look at two types of spiritual teachers. And it's nice to have you with us. We're delighted that you're lending us your ears and bringing this energy of understanding into deeper and deeper awareness in your own life, and hopefully passing it on. And one of our goals is to gather support for just handing this work off to as many people as possible. You can go to our website, and you never have to spend a penny. Between the radio show, you're welcome to come and ask questions as often as you need to, as often as you want to. You can go to our website, whyagain.org. You can download the app for free. Just go to your app store and type in Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. You can go to our website, in the upper left-hand corner of the page, click the Start Here button, and you start walking through the forgiveness process. Now, it's a giant piece of work for most people, because most people have brain cells that take them in a totally different direction. And so for the average person, when you say forgive, you go, oh yeah, I'll let them off the hook. Well, we're not talking about that. We're never going to suggest that you do that to anybody. We're never going to suggest that you forgive anybody in the Greek sense, in the Greek mistranslation of the word, because you can't. Forgiveness doesn't mean let somebody else off the hook. Forgiveness is the tool with which, if you're in pain, you go inside yourself and remove the root of your pain. That's what we're here to support. And so, Miss Jeannie, do we have anybody on the phone queue with a hand up? Anything happening in the chat room?
No, it is all. Oh, we just had a hand go up. Area code
Awesome.
480. You're on the air. Who do we have?
Well, hello, Jeannie and Michael. This is Cecilia in Phoenix.
Well, hey there, young lady. Welcome. How do you be?
So, actually, I have 4 questions that I would like to share with you and
Great.
have you give me comments on them. Okay, the top of my list, I have 4 of them. The top of my list is, honestly, the top of my list is I don't know anything about what do you call it? What do you call that?
Aramaic?
You know, yes, thank you. Okay.
The Aramaic language.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
The Aramaic.
The teachings.
You know a lot about it. You've been listening to me for 20 years.
Yes, but you have something on your website that I look at, and I'm like, should I buy that? It's something about Aramaic. I'm sorry, it just really won't come out of my mouth. Aramaic.
Aramaic.
Yes.
Aramaic.
So you have something in your tools that I would love to learn. Like you, yes, I hear you. Heard you for 30 years, but you have something in your product section that I was wondering if this is something.
So what is it?
I don't know because I'm not. Okay, let me go on your website.
Well, if you've been looking, what is it you're looking at? I mean, give me a title and I can tell you about it.
I think it's called Aramaicism. The teachings.
Well,
or
yeah, that's what I was just talking about. Aramaicism is a 4-hour video.
Okay.
Where a scholar named Dale Allen Hoffman, Aramaic scholar, and myself spend 4 hours talking about the original meanings of Aramaic words and how they've been changed in our culture and how to be restored to those original Aramaic meanings and how they work in your life, how to put them into practice in your life. It's a powerful 4-hour conversation.
Okay.
So if you're interested in learning about the Aramaic, that'll be one of the best sources you'll find on the planet.
So I was wondering if it would have helped me and apply to when is this teachers thing that's coming up? Would it apply also to help me get deeper into that? I mean, the video.
Well, let me say it this way. You know, the first workshop that I created out of the Aramaic teachings was Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And the Aramaic idea of forgiveness. When I began working with this work, that was the only thing that I taught.
Yes.
And then over the last 42 or 43 years of teaching it, different tools developed that went off in different directions. But they're all tied right back into Why Is This Happening to Me Again? You know, it's like, imagine that the Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop, the forgiveness, the teacher training you're talking about, that's the core of the wheel. That's right there in the center of the wheel. That's the hub. And then there's a spoke that goes off called Healing Through Relationships. And there's a spoke that goes off called Communication. Did you hear what I think I said? And there's another spoke that goes off called Aramaicisms. So anything that you look at on our website will always tie right back into Why Is This Happening to Me Again? Because that's the core of it. That's the guts of it.
Okay. You're saying teacher training was after Why Again?
Oh, it was years before I did a teacher training when I first started creating that course. Yes, it was many years. I did a lot of learning. I had to do a lot of teaching, a lot of learning before I decided I was qualified to teach it to anyone else.
I hear you. Can you give me an idea of how long it'll take for me to do it then, since it took you years, even after you created it, to teach it?
Well, here's the thing. You know, I was filled with Western brain cells from day one.
Okay.
One of the biggest blocks to learning the Aramaic thought structure is that we have all kinds of thoughts that go in an opposite direction. So that needs to be overcome. So basically what I did, it's like, it's like, imagine we've got a jungle and we want to get to that lake in the middle of the jungle. that person that gets to the lake has got a lot of cutting and a lot of trimming and, creating a path. Well, now we're 40 years down the road from that. And you've had some pretty deep experiences with it. So the path is pretty broad and it's pretty open, and it's going to be a whole lot easier for you. Actually, there aren't many people, I don't think, that ever could have brought it all together, because it takes the brain cells from the point of view of physics and medicine and theology and language and the way the mind works. So putting all of that together has already been done. The path is cleared to the lake. And how long will it take for you to get there? I don't know. It depends how willing you are. It depends how much work you're willing to do. But the path is open, and we're here to support you along the path. You look back at when you contacted us a few months ago and you had that major issue going on. You were willing, you took instruction, used the tools, and you breezed through something that had been a problem for your whole life. So you're well on your way, but, I don't know how willing you're going to be with the next block that you come against, with the next piece of work that you have, but we're here to support you.
Okay. And when is this teacher's training again? Because I can't find it on your website. I'm not really
well, remember when we talked the other day, I said that's something that we're looking at perhaps doing in the fall. Okay. So it'll be off into we'll be probably looking at sometime in early to mid-September to start the teacher training. And it will be, as far as I know, and again, we haven't created it yet, this will be the first time, like we just did the codependence to interdependence intensive twice to get that one under our belt. And so we'll be creating it. It looks like it will probably be a 16-week training. But we'll let you know as time unfolds.
Okay, great. Now my second question, if you have time.
Okay. We're here. That's what we're here for.
Oh, okay. Let's see. These are questions. One is something that's not a question. So now I've got three left here. So I had this conversation with my daughter over the phone. She's in Cincinnati, and I'm here in Phoenix. And I was telling her, I'd love to move back to Cincinnati, Michelle, and be around you. That's my dream, to be in the same area so I can spend more time with you. And yet I don't know any community in Ohio that I need a community, and I kept saying the word, and she's
so
like,
where's your question?
My question is, okay, I ended that conversation going, I don't know, Michelle, but I know I need a community. And so when I talked to you the other day, I was like, I don't know. I wanted to check your website out and Heartland out. I never have done that before. And I thought I had read that you guys are either in process of building a community there, of all different people. And my guess is community means people who are doing this kind of work. And I was so excited. I did think that this is something that it's like I was just talking about it the other day, where I want to have meaning in my life and not just live in a neighborhood where nobody really even has deep.
So is your question about what's happening with the community at Heartland then? Is that where you're going?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So right now with COVID happening, normally at Heartland we do a summer intensive series, and then in the winter the teaching center is closed down. And usually there is a support team there of people who are doing the work together, working on learning the tools, teaching the tools. And as they do that, people sometimes gravitate to Heartland and want to be part of that community. Right now, there's only one person there, and that's Julie Haverstick, who's been doing this work for the last 25 years or so. She was actually a school teacher in Dayton, Ohio.
Yes,
and,
I knew that.
She wrote a book called So she's the only one that's there. So there, and with the fact that we've moved to Jeannie and I have moved to Bristol, Virginia, to take care of her dad. Her dad a couple of years ago became incapacitated to the point where he couldn't live on his own, and we weren't willing to see him go into a nursing home, so we chose to move here to be with him. And then our granddaughter's here. there's less activity at Heartland right now than there has been in some time. And then add to that COVID, and last summer we didn't open at all. This summer we're not opening because of COVID. And so there's not much activity there right now.
Okay.
And, Michael, she may also be picking up on an old page when Terry was there, and he talked about building houses and building a community for people to live there. So that may be from an old page.
Yes. That's what I read.
Right. So that's still in the vision, but at this point it's not something that's moving forward in any dramatic way.
So is there anything going on with people doing work in Ohio? I mean, I would move back to Ohio in a flat second if I knew that there were other people doing this work. Otherwise, I'm trying to connect.
You've heard us talk about the physician, on the radio show before in Cincinnati, who has sponsored our work. He's worked with this work for the last 25 years or so. And then when we talked about the intensive, his name is Dr. Macheret, Macheret, and you've heard us mention the name Urate. Eret, Macheret.
E-T.
E-T.
Yes.
And you've heard us talk about the intensive, the codependence and the food program. The woman who did the food program is in Cincinnati, and she's teaching the work. In fact, if you go to the support page on the website, there's information about her support group. She's doing a support. You might want to connect in with her and
how do I connect
attend her support group. Well, go to the website on the support page, as I just said, and you'll find her information, the time she does her support group on Zoom, so you can join it from there, connect with her, and see how that grows, see what happens.
Awesome, so much. Okay, so I just feel the changes in the air, and I'm like, okay, what are the changes? I'm asking, my maker, and and so third thing is, so I listened to a video of you guys or an archived radio thing, and you were talking to someone about lyrics and songs, and if they're not something you want in your mind, you change the lyrics. And then I thought, okay, I've always thought I don't like most of the lyrics and songs. Okay, I relate. So I saw this Alanis Morissette song that you guys have down there called Madness, and I thought, great, because I need to get a repertoire of songs with lyrics I want in my head, So do you have any other, like I put on their list in the search box, list of songs, and I don't see a list come up. They randomly come up when I go through the archives, but do you have a list of songs that mention?
Not really. I do have a music list that we use that has some powerful messages in it and some great music, and I'll text you a link to that if you've got Spotify. We have
I don't have Spotify, but I can do it.
Yeah, you can download it. It's a freebie. You get ads with it, or it's not very much, but you can buy it and then you don't have ads. But I'll send you our list, and it's got a couple dozen songs that we'd like to listen to, music and words.
Thank you. I'm learning it as I speak, and I have my voice coach on Friday, and I'm going to say, look, I can't do the other songs I've been working on because the lyrics, they bring me back instead of forward, And
I hear you.
So I'm like, so I have this song, so I have this ready for him on Friday, and I want to start building other. I hear this.
Well, maybe you're going to be the songwriter. Maybe you're going to be the songwriter that really opens the gate. There's also, the piece of music that we open and close the radio show with, written by a woman named Mary Rodante. is a really sweet piece of music. There is a link. You found that on the site?
I didn't look for it. I found this a young man's voice, which was awesome, and I can't even tell you what the song is. But this is just the beginning of me searching for this stuff now.
Sweet, awesome. Well, maybe you'll be the songwriter.
I hope so, because a long time ago I wrote songs all the time until I went into colleges and universities to study music, and then it got I couldn't find it anymore.
Creativity gets squashed. Yep, I understand.
Yes, it did. Yes. So I also believe, though, that
that's the purpose of indoctrination.
What?
That's the purpose of indoctrination. Most of what's called education in the world today isn't education at all. It's indoctrination.
Well,
Educare, the word educate. Slow down. Let me finish my thought.
Okay, sure.
The word educate, educare, means to draw out. It doesn't mean to put in.
Yes.
So what passes as education in our culture is indoctrination. Here, we have information. We want to open your head and fill it up. That's not education. So when you find actual education, you'll see creativity reopen again. And, one of the things we're here to do is you've heard us say it often, the real teacher isn't Michael Ryce or Tim Hayes or Jeannie Ryce. The real teacher is inside of you. We're here to open you to that, move the blocks out of the way, support you doing the work to move the blocks out of the way, and have that teacher open you. And that teacher will write some of the most awesome lyrics through you could ever think of.
Michael,
when you move your, say again?
It happened to me in my 20s. It scared the living daylights out of me.
Now it's time to come back.
I literally said, I prayed with all my heart. I said, make this go away, because it literally scared me.
Oh, so you sent it away.
Because I did not see myself like that, and I thought, my family's really going to think I'm crazy now, and I felt it went away on top of going to school after
apologize.
that. I did. I'm working on it.
Ask it to open again.
Okay. I was just going to do a worksheet before I called into the radio show.
Good idea. Good idea.
That I said that, I literally asked it to leave, Anyway, so the last thing is that I see this when I look at your archives, and I see it says if you see a radio show that Jeannie didn't do a brief description of,
right?
To do one, and I want to commit to doing. Right now, time-wise, I'd like to try it at first to commit at least to see how it did to one a week. My
awesome.
expertise is like writing word for word everything I hear. Because I wanted to get deeper in me, right? But I haven't done it with your archives yet. So I thought, you know what? I
just need like a summary, not word for word.
Yes. No, I knew you would say that. That would be
that's awesome. That'd be wonderful.
So,
that would be wonderful support, and we would deeply appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad you do, because my name in my game right now is to try every day to do an act of kindness, and to me, I felt like, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm doing this in my ego, stroke my ego. No, I just am looking. Like yesterday, I'm looking all over the place, like on our neighborhood next door website, for somebody that has something that I can do an act of kindness for. And so, this popped into my head this morning when I'm looking at one of your archives this morning, and I see that written there, and
that would be awesome.
Yeah, that is something nice. So the other thing is how do you whittle it down to just a description, though, Jeannie?
Well, here would be the thing to do. I would suggest that you listen to one or two of the videos where she's already got a summary there, and it'll be live in the book. So somebody's reading along, and they're reading about, let's say, the power person dynamic and how they were, beat up by Big Brother. And then they'll be able to click a link and go listen to a live process of us on the show about somebody who was beat up by their big brother and what resolution looked like, and what the instructions were. So that's kind of one of the things that I'm envisioning creating. So if you're willing to do that, and anyone else, if you're listening to any of the radio shows, if you're interested in participating in that, and we'll certainly acknowledge you for it, then let me know. I'll send you a copy of what I've written so far, and start listening and give us feedback.
And I don't have to do a brief description of that. That's something separate, right? That's just to tell you
well,
the page. I mean,
just where it is. Yeah, it would be, at minute number 13 and up to minute number 16 or up to minute number 42. There was a conversation about this. Then we'll look at that. And also, if you're watching the videos, the same thing. Anybody who's watching any of the videos from any of the workshops or what have you, if you're interested in participating in this project, then I would send you a copy of the book and ask you to do that. That'd be awesome.
Okay, I'm interested.
I'll send you a copy of what we're doing.
And now you're sending me a copy of the book you're writing or the book Why Again?
I'll send you a copy of the book I'm writing.
Okay.
And then as you're listening, if you've gone through it, you've watched the video links and such, you'll have a sense of what I'm creating. And then if you see a place where, this would fit really well here. Here's the one from the Aramaicisms. Boy, that conversation that took place at the 25-minute point in Aramaicisms would fit perfectly here where you're talking about this. That's the kind of support that I'd be looking for. So if you want to do an act of kindness in that direction, we would definitely appreciate it big time.
Okay, I might be calling to say I want to get more clear about I found this. So does this sound like I'm doing it right? Okay.
Cool.
That's fine. That's fine.
Do the first. Yeah, if you do just the first few of them and send it, all you have to do is send it to me. Then I'll go to that, listen, and see how it fits, and help you refine the process.
So email.
And again, anyone else that's listening, yes, just email it to me. Yep.
Should I email Jeannie separately for the brief descriptions of the
Jeannie will take those descriptions. Yep.
And Jeannie, what is that email? Is that Jeanette?
You can do it to the one that we have written back and forth at the Jeanette M. Shaw at MSN. That's the one we've used before. Yeah, you can send it to that one.
Do you have yours on? I don't know where my pen is right now. Do you have yours
I'll
on
send it to you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I'm good
Sweet.
to go.
All right, we'll hold the space.
Okay, talk to you later.
Okay, and look at Urate Rubikine. She's in Cincinnati. She's got a support group going. You can join it on Zoom.
Yes.
It's on the website.
Oh my God!
And she's going to write you. She's probably already put it in an email to send you the link. Knowing Jeannie.
Oh my God! So it's a Zoom support group. It's not because of COVID, but she's in Cincinnati.
Right.
And she's on the
food
program. What is a food program? That's what she did at
part
Heartland.
of. We just did a 14-week online intensive called Codependence to Independence Communication Practicum. You've heard us talk about that the last couple of days. So it's now a video package that people can purchase, and they get 80 hours of video that are live intensive Zoom programs or Zoom sessions that we've done in the intensive.
Oh, okay.
Part of those who purchase that package is that they receive an invitation to a private Facebook page where Urate, who's a raw food chef, put together
I'm going back to being mostly raw, but okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So she put together a 14-week program, 3 meals a day of fresh and raw food. What equipment's needed, what to order, when to order, menus, videos, and then there's an app called Trello, so people who purchase the intensive package get an invitation to that app Trello, to our page on it, and they can go in and there are all the menus and all the recipes and pictures and all the. She's just done a fabulous job of it. So that's Urate.
It sounds like I have a lot in common with her with that.
It sounds like it. Sounds like it. Hey, who knows?
Yeah. Ooh, and she's in Cincinnati. You're saying she lives
here? That's the place.
I'm jumping up and down here because there's a connection and a possible community connection thing there. So yeah, good. I'm getting tired of the heat out here. It's like 119 today, and it's been that way since the second
119. Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, already. And it's never hit like this before, And so I'm just like, first of all, I love my daughter, and so I've always told her I gotta go, but I don't know what's going to be there for me. I mean, I need to be there for me there. Okay, so but there, I feel like this is like a gift that I'm hearing on this radio show right now.
Cool.
So and
your temperature today in Arizona is 44 degrees hotter than here.
Where are you
we're
guys
at 70 degrees. We're at 70 degrees today in Bristol, Virginia. Actually, about 5 hours from Cincinnati, just a little bit south of Cincy. But,
yeah.
But we're at 70 degrees. I just can't imagine being at 114. No, we never see that.
You have to shut all your curtains here. You can't even see the sun. I'm like, the sun is supposed to be healing. Why? I have to shut my blinds, and it feels like nighttime. When you're in your house and you can't really do anything outside. So anyway, it's beautiful.
I remember it was like that in India. I spent a few months in India back many years ago, and at 9 o'clock in the morning it'd be 95 degrees, 100 degrees.
Yeah, it's 119 when I wake up at 5 in the morning. 119.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That's crazy.
So I don't know if the global warming thing is hitting everybody, but there's a drought going on here. Well, there's usually a drought. It's the desert, but still it's we're dependent on two lakes, to get our water, and they've been drying up for the last, I'm going to say 8 years for sure. So, what are they going to do? Ship in bottled water, which I don't believe in because I don't think that it's really clean or anything. So, and then you got to pay for water. We got to pay, whatever. Anyway, okay. So I'm going to get going here.
All right. You have a blessed one.
I'll stay in touch with you guys. I'll look for your email.
Okay. Take care.
I've already sent it.
Thanks. Okay. Thanks. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye. All right, so we've got 13 minutes. If someone has a question or a comment or a topic you want to discuss, press 1. Our calling number is 563-999-3581. We had a hand just go up. Area code 847, you're on the air. Who do we have?
Oh, hi, this is Carrie. Can you hear me?
Well, hey there, young lady. You're loud and clear.
Oh, good. I just wanted to call in to follow up on a conversation you and I had this morning about my gout and my all the physical things that I've done, the magical things according to A Course in Miracles, changing my diet, medicines, herbal things, all those things, and how none of that has worked, and that I had a healer work on me yesterday morning for 2 hours, and she's amazing, and she said that, in fact, the intense pain in the gout that I was having in my foot cleared up in the first hour that she was working on me. And
Sweet.
She was talking about the fact
Must have struck some core issues.
Yeah, that a lot of what was happening to me physically was coming from past lives and old stuff, and that I kind of needed to clean that up. And in one life in particular, she said that I kept showing her I was a German kind of a city burgher, I guess they call them, like a city official.
Right.
Very, very, very rich, and she said it was probably really before it was called Germany. and I was sent to Paris by my father to become more worldly, but I guess I became way more worldly than he wanted me to. Anyway, I turned into a very hedonistic person, and I had a lot of gout, and I was obese. I was probably 400 or 500 pounds, and I was a pedophile. So she talked to me about that lifetime and learning and being judgmental in my life, and I related that to something that I had been reading about life between lives recently. This hypnotist who had been interviewing people, calling in, I guess, their deceased relatives, and many of them didn't want to acknowledge or look at their past lives, who they were in their past lives, or meet those people because they didn't like what they had been. So I was talking to you about that and how I felt, being a student of A Course in Miracles too, as well as your student, thinking about the idea of oneness and embracing the dark side, and all of your teachings about, all the stuff from the past generations, which I think it also includes past lives of who we are, because maybe we were our past generations, who knows. But one of the interesting things that the healer said to me was, you were this German burger, but you were also the child who was being abused.
So your power person behavior.
So that's when you brought up the whole power person thing. But there's two things going on here. There's that whole power person thing, but there's also this dynamic of judgment and this realization that I didn't want to be that person in this lifetime. So she was saying that my guides were kind of saying that this life that I had led, there was no judgment there. But so I'm kind of still struggling with that. But I did a worksheet, like you said, this morning, and I did the worksheet on this German burger, and I realized, number one, that I didn't want that person to be me, and then I had this realization, that is part of my dark side, because what I do now in this life is I'm very controlled. I control myself, and I have an envy of people who live freely and joyously and creatively. And so what I need to find now in this life is a way to be joyous, my authentic self, but not be a user of other people. So instead of having this iron fist of control over myself because of my judgments about what joy or creativity or pleasure could be. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
So I think, just keeping doing the work. I mean, it was just this big realization for me about the connection between forgiveness and judgment.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like perhaps this control is with yourself, controlling yourself, is the cover for, boy, I never want to go off the rails like that again.
Yeah, exactly.
So perhaps some worksheets as that my take on past life stories is that, it may or may not be true that somebody had a past life this way. I can think of many ways to explain what looks like a past life. It could be just the creative mind's way of giving us a way to work through an issue. It could be, the collective unconscious things. But ultimately, it really doesn't matter. If you see an issue, you work through the issue and, move through it. And it sounds like perhaps as you imagine yourself as that person that you're describing, really get into that character, imagine that, and then do some, having the tools of forgiveness, do some worksheet on, the pain of what happened to that person as a child, the pain that was exacerbated as they were the abuser. And as you work through those things, you'll be moving those energetic imprints out of your own structure. Whether you were actually that person or not really doesn't matter.
Right.
It's obviously an issue that's there, that here's the opportunity to work through it.
So one of the things I did, when I was completing the worksheet, is I was kind of sending love to that abuser, or that part of me that is fearful of, going off the rails, as you say it, or being out of control, whatever. So you would never find me, for example, even as a teenager, you would never find me in like a mosh pit or, like wearing extravagant clothes or being, or anything. Always very kind of conservative. And I feel like now that I'm kind of put myself in a box, and where is this real Carrie? Where is this joyful person? And
alive?
And I texted her some of that. This healer that had worked with me yesterday, I texted her some of that information today, and she wrote back and said something to the effect of, when you allow yourself to be joyful and full of joy, it gives other people permission to be that way, and it's kind of a gift.
Absolutely. And as you work through the fear that you, quote unquote, might go off the rails, you have the liberty to do that. You won't have to move into a life of excess. And basically, that's where the healing process is going to lie. So I do some worksheets as that person, as you imagine her.
Okay. As the abuser or as the child?
Yes.
Both.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Honored and delighted. And holding the space.
Yeah, and the surgeon, after I went, he told me in the surgery that he'd done last week on my foot, he said, you had more gout crystals in your foot than anybody I've ever seen. He said, you were a stoic. And I thought, okay, why do I have to be stoic?
Why have I been living as a stoic all my life?
Yeah, it's part of that control, right?
Yeah, that is. That's it, exactly. Control. Not allowed to step outside of these bounds.
So I think it's also going to lead to some other control worksheets as well. So anyway, thank you very much.
Good chance.
I know your time's nearly up. So
good chance. Well, I acknowledge you and admire you for your willingness, and just, how, when I think back to when you came to your first workshop, we had our first conversations, how you've broadened your horizons in your work and your willingness to dive in and do the next level. It's pretty awesome. So congratulations. It's fabulous.
Oh, thank you. It's a lifetime.
And we are here to support you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Thank you.
I hear you. It's what it takes.
Okay.
All right, young lady, holding the space. All right. Any support we can be, let us know.
Thank
all right.
you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, we're down to the last few seconds, so I'm just going to say thank you, everybody, for joining us. if any particular radio show is meaningful to you, right after the show is over, you can go to the archives on whyagain.org. It's a picture of a microphone. Click on the microphone. You'll drill down to this date, and there will be the MP3 free. You can download it. You can create a link to it to send it to others. Put it out there. We'd appreciate the support. In the meantime, create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. The world needs it. You deserve it, and you can do it. Blessings.